Okay, so the second topic of the day, we're going to talk about this little game called Rock Band.
Oh, Rock Band 4.
Yeah, we've been playing a bit of it to different degrees and stuff, and we have some thoughts about this game. So the whole thing is, should people be excited for Rock Band 4? Should they buy it? Should they play it? What do we think?
I think it's impossible not to be excited for Rock Band 4. If you somehow missed the movement the first time, it sounds awesome. Get all your friends together and play Rock Band. If you were part of the movement the first time, I think it's cool that it's been off for a while and now you're back and it seems like it's exciting to get into it. You know, when it came to the house the first day, we got all excited. Colin and I unpacked it. We started playing, and the first thing that struck me was like, man, this really is fucking Rock Band. And that, I mean it in all the good ways and I mean it in all the bad ways. Mm-hmm. In the way that like, I could easily walk into somebody's house, and if they could hide the 4, and they could jump into tour mode, they could jump into a gameplay, they could jump into anything. I'd be like, oh, you're playing Rock Band 3? Where's the guitar? You know what I mean? And it'd be like, oh no, this is the new Rock Band, even though it doesn't look like nothing's been overhauled in any way. You're still doing the same tour stops. Your animations on stage are the same. The menus look the same. Like
there's even less features too. There's no like online.
Oh really? I didn't even know.
There's like a whole bunch that's like stripped out of it, which. And a lot of people are complaining about that. I think there's some things that are just like, they're not necessary. You know, like the guitar is one of those things where it's like, it's not necessary.
Right, right.
They did that to be different back in the day. Here's what works.
Yeah.
We're giving it to you.
The big thing, and this, I always, not to always talk about Lego games, but a long time ago, if you remember, Lego Star Wars 360 put online play in, right? And they never did it again. In every game, they got dinged on it and asked questions. And finally, they were just like, nobody played it. Like, you can bitch like it's a missing feature and no one used it. And I don't know if that's the same thing.
Yeah,
with
I mean, I don't know the stats on that.
But I'm just putting it out there, right?
Yeah.
But no, I'm like it's just feels like Rock Band. It is Rock Band, you know?
Yeah. What's interesting to me is I've always been more of a Guitar Hero guy than Rock Band.
Yeah.
And I've said that before. Like there's just something about it, just the way that the game's designed where Guitar Hero, and I'm talking about old school Guitar Hero, not this new one.
Not Guitar Hero Live.
Yeah. I'm talking about like Guitar Hero made by Harmonix before they made Rock Band.
Sure.
And even the Neversoft ones. But I like the fact that it was always about challenging guitar, and it was about getting a better score, and just the look of it, just the way that the notes were like the circle things instead of the lines. And every song was designed to be fun to play on guitar. Rock Band is totally a party game, and that's great. And the people have a lot of fun with it. But I think a big issue with it is a lot of the songs just aren't fun on one or more of the instruments people are playing on at any given time.
Right.
So a song that's fun to sing is super boring on guitar, or even more boring on bass.
Right.
Drums are pretty consistent, like 'cause drums are just the backbone to any song. But it's hard, and especially when you have such a focus on music. These games completely run on music, and without people caring about the music, they're nothing. Like there's nothing there. And that's what's interesting about this game is the fact that we always talk about games as platforms and which ones work that way. Rock Band is probably one of the most platform ready games, and it essentially is. Like this game is nothing without the downloadable content before it.
Yeah,
because the track list on the disc, it's like.
It's really bad. I'm sorry.
It's shocking.
It's a shockingly bad
to see people's reaction to it, because I look at it, I'm like, oh, I don't know any of these artists, or I know like 2 songs, or a couple songs or whatever. But I'm like, oh, other people must know, because that's how I felt about a lot of the other games.
Are you seeing people know?
And then I've been doing a lot of research just to see what people are saying about this. Everyone's like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah, we were blown away when we turned it on that first night. Colin and I were like, all right, we started a band, and I was like, oh, it's kind of exactly the same, but whatever, let's get in there and play. And we started jumping around. We'd run into a band or an artist we liked and be like, yeah, and like, what is the song? Yeah. What is, and then you get it, I've never heard of this, I've never heard of that. What is, I don't want to sing that. No, I'll back out and I'll be bass, I guess.
That's the thing about Rock Band 4 to me is a sign that you have to temper your own hype sometimes, because I was excited about it. I was like, it's time, and I think it's time for these games to come back. I think it's great. And when we started playing it, and I realized, I was like, the game, I agree with Greg, the game is identical. Like they didn't change anything about it. And I'm like, what the fuck have you been doing? Like the game, Rock Band 3 came out like 5 years ago. I mean, at some point you have to like seem, or at least appear, that you put any effort into making and differentiating this game from the previous ones, and they didn't. I mean,
they have their new solos and stuff, which I jumped in to learn, and I was like,
and that's dumb. That's a dumb feature too. I'm like,
I love it.
I'm like, let me play the solo.
I've been having a lot of fun with the random solos. I think they're really cool. But I do I liked this. Like this is going directly against what I was saying earlier about liking the challenge. the solos were the hard parts.
Yeah,
of the
no,
song.
exactly. And I think that I agree aesthetically, like the tour mode. I'm like, this is all I've seen this all, and that's fine. I mean, it's fine to get things that you're familiar with. But I was just surprised that it seemed like very little effort was put into it. Like, I mean, that's like how it kind of struck me. I'm like, I don't understand like what you guys have actually been doing, because this looks and feels the exact same as the last Rock Band games. And I agree with Greg. If you put these two games in front of people, especially if you couldn't identify like the little visual ticks that make the 4 more sharp than 3, they're indistinguishable from each other. And I've spent an asinine amount of time, like a lot of you, like you guys and a lot of people out there with Rock Band. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. But most people, I don't think, really care much about tour mode,
right,
or anything like that. They get into quick play, and that's where I think things fell apart too, because I'm like, this set list sucks. Like, it's not a matter of you don't want to play games. It's like doing, you called it before, it's like doing karaoke but with instruments and stuff, and I agree with you. You don't go to karaoke and do songs you never heard of. You do like classic songs. And I agree with Greg that saying that like, well, they released all of these songs already. Like, there's a lot of songs. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not really true. Like, I could stumble across great songs every day that I haven't heard in 10 years. Like, you have to start digging. And if music was DLC at one point, then put it on the disc now. Like, what they really should have done is had a set list that's way bigger than 50 songs or whatever it is, and really giving people bang for their buck.
I mean, that's
on the music.
I agree with you entirely with that, because it's on the devil's advocate to that is the fact that, like, who cares about what the track list is? If you don't like it, just go buy the songs that you like.
But you have to buy them.
No, I know, and that is an issue on top of already buying this. And I think a lot of the problems this game has is semantic stuff. Why is it 4? Why isn't it just Rock Band? And it's one of those things where we're like, why does it matter? Like, who cares? It's a big deal when they are charging more than they ever have for this game. And it is, you have to buy all the new instruments or whatever. You can use the old ones, whatever. But like, the instruments are more expensive than they've ever been. The game is more expensive than it's ever been. The music you get on the disc is less enticing than it's ever been. And it's all just the same shit. So it's like, it's weird, but I feel like what they should have done is just put out, here's Rock Band, this platform thing. Mm-hmm. Here is a greatest hits assortment of songs. Like, we've seen what you guys like and want. Here's a whole bunch of them back on disc. Go buy the other songs you want.
Right.
Yeah,
that would have been a better.
I love that idea, or I love the idea and the platform kind of agnosticism of it, to make it in such a way that it's like, here are the instruments if you want to buy them. If you must run the game on a disc, and here's the disc, and we'll give you $50, like just, or 50 credits, or whatever. And it's like, there's no music on the CD. There's no music on the Blu-ray. Go and just pick out whatever songs you want.
Yeah.
For 50 credits, 50 songs, whatever songs you want. And then if you want more songs, then you buy them for $2 a piece. I think there was just a lot of better ways to look at it, because I was astonished by how bad the set list is. It's not to say all the songs on there are bad. There are great songs on there. It's just to say, like, this isn't, man, like, there's like some catchy fucking shit on some of those tracks, or on some of those set lists on the previous games. And it's a little ridiculous to charge people an arm and a leg for the instruments and then the game, and then you have to go buy the actual music you actually want. Because I'll be really shocked if a lot of people put this game in and are like, oh, I'm very satisfied with the core track list.
Yeah,
and that's something that's like kind of upsetting to me too, because I've always found these games to be music discovery platforms in a lot of ways, where I listen to the songs, I'm like, oh, now I've heard of this band, but I've never really listened to them.
Now I love Greengrass and High Tides Forever.
Exactly, I'm into this music and stuff, and now going through it's like, we are just getting like, they're not even singles anymore. Now it's just, and it's because of all
Deep
the DLC.
cuts. Yeah,
it's because they've released all this shit that people want, and they're not gonna give us that again.
And the biggest problem is, like, when we got the game and we got it ahead of time and things weren't up and running, because they're getting the game online or whatever. When we played that first night, we're like, this set list is nothing. I don't know most of these songs. It's whatever. It doesn't matter though, because all my DLC is gonna work with this thing. And then I went in, and like, even today, it is such a clusterfuck of. I go sync it, and it says you have 32 DLC songs. I'm like, that's a fucking lie. And I go in and I look to the one that is in my head that I know for a fact that I own is Stephen and the Colbert Charlene. And it's just because it's an easy one, and I see it, and like, I go there and it still says it wants my $199, and I'm like, that is a fucking lie. And then even if the ones that I do own, you have to go through and find in that list and say it's okay, it's in library or it's purchased. So click on it and get it into your library. It's like, why was this so hard to have this sunk up? Because this is like what would have made the track list so forgivable for me. And if it would have just been that, like, track, it's 50 songs and it's a hodgepodge of new stuff and whatever and deep cuts, but you get all your old music, so what do you care? And I would have jumped in, and it would have been one button, and I would have gotten the hundreds of songs I bought, maybe 800 or whatever it was, and they'd be there, but they're not there. I'm going to Weezer stuff, and I'm like, I bought every Weezer track you put up. You can't tell me this is all new and I only have these 2 here. What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, and it's weird too that in addition to the old music and downloading it, that being an issue, I've never had a library of Rock Band songs. So last night I went in, I was like, fuck it, I'm buying a bunch. Like I'm gonna have fun with this.
Yeah,
because I got bored of the 3 songs I knew from the fucking set list.
Yeah,
and I went to buy them, and it's granted it was like launch day, so maybe there was a lot of server problems or whatever, and like I get that, but the store crashed on me. One out of every 2 times I went into it.
Jesus.
And it was just like, at varying degrees of how long I was in it. And it crashed in places where I paid for the song and it crashed after I paid, but before it started downloading. So even when I would go to my download list, it just wasn't there. So it would say purchased, but it wouldn't let me download it.
Great.
So I'm sure if I go back tonight, it'll be fine and it'll fix. But it's like, I spent an hour and 15 minutes probably trying to download music before I even played.
And that's the thing with what our two main experiences with the game. I came home one night and played by myself, just sat there and did a tour on my own or whatever. But like the first night with Colin and I, we jumped in trying to sync the stuff. How do we calibrate this information? All right, great. I think we're finally calibrated. Jump in. We play 5 songs. We're like, all right, I don't want to play anything else on this. We'll wait to the DLC. We turn on the thing because we're going to do a let's play for it. Calibrate is not calibrated for anybody. I'm going through this DLC list. Where the fuck are all the songs? You know what I mean? And like, all right, we'll do it later. Today, I'm like, let's do it. I jump in. I look around. I found a Games Radar article that linked me to the forums that went there. There's this complicated list of what you can do and how you do. Some of them were talking about turning on my 360 and syncing. And I'm like, what the... This is not what was said.
Yeah,
you said that I owned this.
I'm over it. I mean, that's what I'm saying about tempering excitement. Sometimes we're just disappointed about the things we're excited about. And I really thought it was time for these games to come back. And again, I think it is time. It reminds me of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 leaving a great opening for Skate. You know, EA owns that IP. They can give it to a new studio. And I believe that Skate is in development. I think it's obvious. It reminds me of that, like Rock Band and Guitar Hero, or Rock Band and Guitar Hero to maybe a new competitor, because these games will always resonate with someone if they're done right. And I just feel like this comes off as half-assed and half broken. And that was just based on my experience playing it for a couple of hours with Greg or whatever. So maybe it becomes more fun later, but I just feel like this is half-assed, and I'm not sure, like Harmonix, like I don't understand what they've been doing in terms of like this game. I expected when I'm excited about a game, I don't look into it too much because I don't want to see too much. And when I put it in, I expected that I was going to see something that was going to blow me away. And I'm like, this is awesome. And this is next level. This is next gen. I'm like, it's nothing about it. It's just convoluted and it looks the same and the music sucks and, you know, calibrating the guitars and the drums sucks. And like, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm over it.
Yeah, my hope is that I turn it on in a week and everything's fixed. Stephen the Colbert's is ready to download. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like the problem is right now that it's just like there's no easy information. The Games Radar piece was like, things are screwed up right now. They were like, here's what you need to know. And they're like, things are fucked up right now, but Harmonix is working on it. So if you see a song that you know you owned, don't buy it and it's like, come on, you know what I mean? But then I can't find that on the forums of Rock Band at all. Yeah, I'm in there and I find a link that's like, here's how to get, like, you can get your Rock Band 1 music if you export if you export it off the disc, like I know I did for Rock Band 2. So does that count that I've already exported it? But the license is already expired for Rock Band 2 and 3, so you can't export those off. And it's like, well, have I ever done that? Yeah. Like, and I don't even give a shit about the on disc stuff. Like, give me the fucking Stephen the Colbert song that I know I downloaded.
See, my thing is, we're getting really negative about it. When it's worked, it's been really fun. And it's been fucking awesome. But it's Rock Band.
And that's the thing that I find so interesting about this thing is that right now we've gone for 18 minutes on this one topic, and we've all been very attacked. I want to play this game still. I want to go out there and do that let's play. I want you to come over early and play in the mornings and stuff. Yeah. But I want it to work. You know what I mean? Like I want it to work the way it was sold that it was going to.
Yeah, and it doesn't. It's funny because you're saying like they didn't, like, what were they doing? And what they were doing is trying to make something that worked before work with all this new technology. It's fucking Bluetooth stuff. You have to have all the, like, just with the new hardware and all that. And it's like, it sucks that when you go into the future and you look at these new platforms, making things just work is so much more complicated than it needs to be. And it sucks because they didn't figure it out. Like this thing is, it doesn't work.
I guess so. I can see why some of these things would be complicated, and there's really talented people over there, and I'm sure that they tried their hardest. And I want the game to work too, but the point is, this is the Final Fantasy 13 syndrome. It's like there's a good game buried in there somewhere. And I'm like, that's not good enough, especially with a casual game like this. If we are having a problem with this game, then I can't imagine the general consumer or the more casual gamer who's really excited about Rock Band 4 picking this up and having any patience for this at all. I'd feel burned to shit if I had the experience like Greg did, where I'm like, I can't even, I own these songs and you're asking me to buy them again, and licenses are expiring, and I like the fucking calibration's weird, and I'm like, that's too much. Like, get me into the game and make it fucking work, or don't. Like, I don't have time, and I don't want to make excuses for video game developers and publishers. They have to deliver, And
I wonder though how big of a problem it is for the casual person. Or if this is totally an us thing, that we've had the game for so long, so we've already been wrestling with these problems, that we know how it should work and what's going on. If it is a person who just pops it and plays, like, calibration for Rock Band and Guitar Hero has always sucked. You always jump in there and like, it's never like, there's a day where it's not 100. Like Roper would play and he's like fucking spot on. He'd be like, even when I thought it was working, it wasn't working for, you know what I mean? Like, that I'm used to with a Nightmare. That's part of these.
I just missed the fucking like PS2 days when it was just you plug it in wired and it worked. Like, the calibration for me was never an issue with that.
Yeah.
It just fucking worked. Once it went wireless, that's when it's like, then you're dealing with all this other shit. Like, there's so much damn problems. And like standing in front of the TV as it fucking beeps 1,000 times is the most annoying thing in the fucking world. Add drums, add all this other shit. It's like, oh man. But for the casual people, I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. Like, the casual people are going to play it the way they do, or they're not. They're like, I think casuals aren't the ones buying all the DLC and doing all that.
I'm gonna check it on a casual Rock Band player.
What I'm most intrigued about moving forward is how this game does.
Yes,
because I'm intrigued. Mad Catz is the publisher, which is weird. It seems like conventional publishers might not want to be involved with this kind of stuff anymore. I don't know if that's smart or not. I think it's smart to bring these games back. I just think that it just makes more sense to do it right. And when you have a lot of time to do it right, you should do it right. I'm sick of these games coming out and they're being like, well, they'll work in a couple of weeks. It's like, the game should fucking work.
Yeah, no, man, it totally should. I just think it sucks that, like,
it's
in addition to the
insane.
hardware problems, like just the differences with that, it's licensing. When it comes to music, like, the whole game is licensing, and who can they get, and who have they already gotten, and when do those things expire, and why can't I have my Rock Band 2 songs in this and all that? And it's like, that's what they're up against, but that's not our problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I mean?
It's not our problem. It's not our problem that it's hard to launch a game. It's not our problem that the servers don't work. It's not our problem that enough time. It's not our problem that we have to download the day one patch. Like, this is becoming normal, and it's not supposed to be normal. And we need collectively to start calling it out. You know what I mean? When games don't work, it's a problem. It's a fucking problem, and it's too many excuses. And gamers are making too many excuses for publishers and developers, and I don't like it.
Where you at with this?
he tweeted a photo of him with shades on, the little shade emoticon, that he bought it. No topics of I'm upset about it.
Okay.
Now we're just gonna do a regular old Rock Band 4 search on the old Twitter. See if people are saying good things.
The yays or
things.
the nays?
The yays or the nays. All tweets. Rock Band 4 hype. Rock Band box. Rock Band unboxing. Rock Band 4 is pretty great. Still prefer Guitar Hero by a mile, says Joey. Hashtag Bengals 4-0.
There you go.
If Joey hashtag Bengals likes it, 4-0.
I mean, we're certainly in the minority. It's got an 84 on Metacritic on the Xbox One. It's got an 81 Metacritic on PS4 on Xbox, or on PS4 for Rock Band 4. So I mean, people dig it. I found myself, not impressed.
It's one of those things that I dig it too. It's just like I'm frustrated with it as a product.
No, for sure. And I mean, again, I spent a lot of money on it last night, so it's like it's definitely it's good. It's just. There's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah. Here we go. Jeff Gersman from Giant Bomb. Apparently, the only DLC I own that carried over from Rock Band 4 to Rock Band 4 is Weezer, that Owl City song, and a ton of Linkin Park. Rad. So it's not just us. All right.
Well, did he mean that in a bad way or a good way?
He meant that in a bad way. That he bought way more than that.
Not sure.
I mean, he should be happy.
He's really
all
happy
that
about
Weezer
his Linkin
stuff
Park.